Introducing the new Passion Air mobile app. You can now search and book your flight and make payment via mobile money. You can view your booking, check in online, and generate your boarding pass to beat the queues at the airport. Using the mobile app, you can check on flight schedules in real time. Download the Passion Air app and make your next trip a lot more convenient. Passion Air, Aquaba.
Welcome to the fulfillment operations area. We deal with blood products, we deal with vaccines, we deal with regular essential medical products as well.
So it's one of our busiest distribution centers.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to the fifth in the series of the Ghana Air Traffic Controllers Association Technical Webinar Series. The Technical Webinar Series provides a platform for aviation professionals and enthusiasts to discuss technical issues while promoting safety. My name is Kwamna Haum, an air traffic controller of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, and it is my pleasure to host today's webinar. I begin today's webinar with a short prayer. Gracious Lord, guide today's deliberations and deepen our understanding of content that's going to be shared. Amen. The use of unmanned aircraft systems for civilian purposes has become prevalent within the last decade. Drones are gradually becoming a part of our lives, with applications and uses in agriculture, aerial surveying, drone journalism, search and rescue, remote inspections, medical supplies to inaccessible communities, among others. Perhaps one use of drones that most of us can relate to is for photography, especially aerial wedding photography. Aerial photography is said to give us that third eye to properly perceive the planned view of an activity, facility, or area. Now, how is this technology being used to improve the lives of people living on the African continent? Be it for commercial or recreational purposes, what regulatory framework governs the use of drones and remotely piloted aircraft systems? Are these regulations known to the enthusiasts and the shops that sell the drones? How are drones and remotely piloted aircraft systems integrated into the airspace vis-à-vis manned air traffic to achieve safety? And what effects do drones have on manned air traffic? Again, are there privacy and security concerns regarding the use of drones? To help us with answers to some of these questions and others, I'm excited to have three people who've got wide experiences in the emerging drone and Rpas space in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome our panelists for today, Melissa, John, and Senam. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us and welcome. I will read a short bio of each panelist before they present. Before we go on to the first speaker, please note the following. Follow the Ghana Air Traffic Controllers on our social media handles and send feedback regarding this webinar to info@ghatca.org. info@ghatca.org. Again, this webinar will be uploaded onto the Ghatca website and also on our YouTube channel. If you've just joined us, please introduce yourself on the chat page, and I'll do well to acknowledge those who do so. Also note that the chat tab is for interaction amongst attendees while the webinar is ongoing, and the Q&A tab is for questions that will be answered during the Q&A session. Our first panelist for today is Melissa Ruzanganwa. Melissa started at Zipline as a public affairs lead to handle governmental affairs, and she's now part of the regulatory team as head of Africa Regulatory Affairs. Melissa manages Zipline's integration and regulatory approvals into the national airspaces on the African continent. After joining the team in Rwanda, she has continued to solidify relationships with different governmental stakeholders and regulators to smooth operations and Zipline's integration into national airspaces. She previously worked in Canada in specialty pharmacy and interned at the International Civil Aviation Organization and also at the Rwanda Civil Aviation Authority. Melissa holds a double degree in political science with a concentration in global governance and international studies with a concentration in diplomacy from Bishop's University in Canada. Melissa, thanks for joining us this morning. Please take it from here.
Thank you very much for this platform and for giving me the time to discuss about what Zipline has been able to on the continent. And I really hope that I answer all the questions. I'm really looking forward for the discussion today. So if you bear with me for a second, I'm just going to share my screen so that you can have an idea of my presentation.
Well, that's fine. Please go ahead.
I'm having technical difficulties here. Bear with me.
I think it's coming on.
Can you see the screen?
I can see the screen, but the slide is yet to load.
Okay, can you see the screen now? The slide?
No, not yet. So Melissa is trying to load her slides while she we'll just give her a few minutes to do that, and she will be with us shortly. So whilst we are waiting for Melissa, please note that spend a few minutes to fill our post-webinar survey for the Ghana Air Traffic Controllers Association when you log out of the Zoom app at the end of the webinar. It will only take about a minute to do that, and we would appreciate if you take time to do that for us again. Hi, Melissa.
Yes. Would it be possible for you to share the screen? Because I'm really having difficulties here.
All right. Just give us a moment. We'll try to see if we can do that from here. While we sort out the issues with the slide, again, take note of the announcement. At the end of the webinar, please fill the post-webinar survey, which will help us in planning of future webinars, and also the kind of topics you would want to discuss with you. It's about a minute. It takes about a minute to fill, and it pops up right after you log out of the Zoom app. We are still trying to get Melissa's presentation going, so just give us a minute. While we wait to resolve the issues with Melissa's presentation, we would quickly jump on to the second presenter, and that's John. So I'll read a short profile of Mr. John Kofi. John is an air traffic controller with the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority with over 10 years experience. John has ATC air traffic control ratings in aerodrome, approach procedural, and approach surveillance control. He has worked on several technological and air traffic management solutions in the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, including the Flight Movement Manager, Ghatca website and associated network, 2012 PBN implementation in Ghana, and the Air Traffic Services Inter-Facility Data Communication implementation in the Accra FIR. John has a Master of Science degree in Aeronautics from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University with dual specialization in aviation and aerospace safety and air traffic management. John is a member of the Council AFI Rpas Task Force, where he plays a major role in the Global Rpas Survey in conjunction with the Council Global UTM Task Force. He is the chair of the Council AFI Cyber Security Task Force. John is a member of the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University Alumni Network, the Watt Club, Ghatca, IFADCA, Flight Safety Foundation, and Council. Due to technical issues, John has sent us a pre-recorded presentation, and so we are going to play that. Let's go.
Good day to you, Kwame Nahum, and good day to everyone. I would like to first of all thank the organizers of the technical webinar series for inviting me here. It is an honor to have the opportunity to address such a distinguished audience. During the next 15 minutes or so, we will be discussing Rpas operations in Ghana. The topic is particularly relevant to all aviation professionals and the flying public. In as much as we are excited to welcome Rpas or drones as new entrants in our airspaces, we know that failure to address safety concerns will lead to undesirable outcomes. Colleagues, by the end of this presentation, you will gain a high level of understanding of Rpas operations in Ghana, the safety and operational challenges we are facing, and some solutions to these challenges. The title of my presentation is Remotely Piloted Aircraft Systems, the Ghanaian Story. In this presentation, I'll start with a brief overview of Rpas operations in Ghana. After the introduction, I'll cover Rpas use in Ghana, mandatory Rpas safety training, Rpas operations in Ghana, safety and operational challenges, the steps towards Rpas integration into our airspace, and finally, how Council is assisting the AFI region through initiatives such as the Rpas survey. Introduction. Rpas operations in Ghana dates as far back to 2006, when the government of Ghana contracted a company known as Rodan Engineering to provide digital orthophoto maps in color for various parts of the country, covering about 15,000 square kilometers in a land administration project. Since then, Rpas operations in Ghana has seen tremendous growth in commercial, recreational, and military applications. According to IFADCA, Rpas operations is expected to grow exponentially and become one of the fastest growing sectors in the economy. The question is no longer whether, but when and how the integration of Rpas into the non-segregated airspaces in Ghana will take place to allow Rpas to operate alongside manned aircraft. Safety issues including the risk of collision with other aircraft, the risk of loss of control of the RPA, training, certification, liability, and insurance are of major concern as we plan to integrate Rpas operations into the ATM environment. The focus of the ANSP is on how best to incorporate Rpas into the ATM environment seamlessly, efficiently, and safely. In this vein, the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority developed operational directives, that is the GCAD Part 28 in 2018, to ensure the safe operation and integration of Rpas into Ghana's airspaces and address the protection of persons and property from accidents and incidents involving Rpas. Rpas use in Ghana. The use of Rpas in Ghana is subject to specific procedures in accordance with the GCAD Part 28. I will not explain these procedures into details because that will be done by the next speaker from the regulator. However, to mention briefly, these procedures cover areas such as custom clearance and importation, approval process for recreational and private operations, approval processes for commercial operations, approval process for flights above 400 feet above ground level and beyond visual line of sight operations, approval process for special authorization, approval for pilot and pilot instructor licensing, procedure for approval of sale of Rpas, procedure for change of ownership of an Rpas, and finally, Rpas associations and clubs. Mandatory Rpas safety training. The Rpas safety training is a prerequisite course that private or recreational users must take before registering Rpas or drones in Ghana. It is an outline course and it can be found on the GCA website. The course was developed by the regulator and has 3 examinable modules. A pass mark of 80% or higher is required to successfully complete the course, and the certificate issued at the end of the course must be printed and submitted to GCA to continue the registration process. Module 1 of the course covers Rpas regulatory overview, while Module 2 focuses on flying safely. Lastly, Module 3 of the Rpas safety training deals with safety occurrences and the do's and don'ts of flying. Rpas operations in Ghana. To begin the discussion on Rpas operations in Ghana, I would like to set the scene by informing you that there are many Rpas operators in the country. However, we know about only a few registered Rpas service providers and authorized retailers in the country. Most of the registered Rpas operators have approval to conduct area surveying and mapping. The area of operations with surveying and mapping can only be determined when there is a project. This implies simultaneous Rpas operations could occur at the same time in various locations of the country. Rpas safety and operational challenges. Rpas operators have one thing in common, that is approval to conduct surveying and mapping. There is no way to estimate the number of Rpas in the hands of hobbyists and commercial users and where exactly these remotely piloted aircraft are being operated. This places a tremendous burden on GCA to maintain critical safety standards for the flying public. The GCA has received several reports of commercial Rpas operations with no established means of complying with the rules and regulations in the GCAD. Moreover, there are only 3 registered retailers in Ghana that have approval for selling Rpas. This implies that unauthorized vendors may inject Rpas with limited capabilities, such as ineffective geofencing capabilities, into the Ghanaian airspace, making it even more difficult to maintain the appropriate safety levels. Lastly, There is no common altitude reference datum between Rpas and manned aircraft. Solutions. Steps towards the integration of Rpas into non-segregated airspace. Solutions being considered by the ANSP should ultimately lead to the integration of Rpas in non-segregated airspace. This begins with number 1, the prevention of illegal entry of unapproved Rpas into the country. We have embarked on educational and awareness programs to encourage all operators to register their RPAs. Number 2, safety assessments. The understanding of associated hazards and risks of Rpas to manned aircraft is a critical issue for the operations in complex and non-segregated airspaces. As we work to provide solutions to Rpas operations in low-altitude airspaces, we have embarked on safety assessments to identify the safety hazards and associated risks. Additionally, gaps between the current ANSP services and provisions and future fully integrated operations will be identified. This will be useful in situations where emergencies affect mixed operations of Rpas and manned aircraft. Number 3, establishing operational procedures. The ideal solution to dealing with the operational challenges posed by establishing procedures for integrating multiple Rpas operations into the Ghanaian airspace systems, especially at very low levels. This involves the design of procedures related to prohibited or restricted areas, conflict detection and separation with manned aircraft operations, application of detect and avoid technologies. Number 4, application of geofencing. One of the fundamental strategies for accommodating Rpas into the Ghanaian airspace and gradually allowing Rpas operations in non-segregated airspace is the effective use of geofencing. Geofences are airspace boundaries over geographical areas with the aim of prohibiting, restricting, and containing Rpas operations, depending on the type of geofencing used. These types or areas can be activated, changed, or deactivated in real time, and updates transmitted to all relevant stakeholders. Number 5, enhancing the means of conflict detection and separation with manned aircraft operations. The argument that Rpas operations in Ghana is restricted below 400 feet above ground level and therefore will not conflict with manned aircraft is inaccurate. Manned aircraft may enter very low level airspace for several reasons, both intentionally and unintentionally, which increases the risk of collision with Rpas. Planned entry of very low level airspace by manned aircraft for the purposes of landing or takeoff, usually by helicopters, must be well managed by providing timely and accurate information on the areas of overlaps to all relevant stakeholders, including the military. On the other hand, unplanned entry into low-level airspace, as in the case of emergency landing or forced landing due to weather, is very risky and an important topic to address among ANSPs, regulators, military, and all relevant stakeholders. Ideas being considered currently are dynamic geofencing, short-term emergency geofencing. Number 6, detect and avoid technologies. There are current studies on the possibility of using cooperative detect and avoid technologies to provide an extra layer of safety in case other procedures fail. Lastly, training. It must be acknowledged that the best procedures cannot be properly implemented without the necessary training. All stakeholders, including Rpas operators, air traffic controllers, aeronautical information services officers, Rpas pilots, and all other stakeholders in the industry must be given the necessary training. Council AFI Rpas Survey. What is the Council Rpas Survey? The Council Rpas Survey is an online survey designed by Council Rpas Task Force, chaired by the Acting ATM Director in GCAA, Mr. Kofi Poji. It is designed to solicit information from member states in the Afi region on Rpas regulations, operations, ANSP's preparedness to integrate Rpas in non-segregated airspace. The survey is based on the ICAO model of regulations, review of Rpas regulations of many states, and international best practices consistent with the ICAO aviation framework. The purpose of the survey is to 1. Help the Council AFI Rpas Task Force to determine general challenges member states in the AFI region are facing. And number 2, to enable the task force to introduce relevant programs and initiatives that will benefit all member states. The survey is an online survey, meaning a participant may save and return to the survey platform several times before the final submission. The survey is strictly confidential and personal information will not be shared with any individual or organization. The survey will cover areas such as RPAS regulations, operations, and ANSP's preparedness to integrate RPAS in non-segregated airspace. What is the delivery mode? Though the survey will be deployed online, we will give ANSPs the opportunity to access hard copy versions that will be emailed to focal points on. Conclusion. According to Ghatca, the presence of a pilot on board an aircraft or not should be largely irrelevant from the ANSP perspective. Ghana is therefore committed to implementing the best practices that would be consistent with the ICAO Aviation Safety Framework. This brings me to the end of my presentation. In this presentation, I gave a brief overview of some of the challenges we are facing regarding RPAS operations, steps towards integration of RPAS into our airspaces, and how Council is helping the AFI region. I hope you have enjoyed this journey with me. Thank you very much, and good day.
Thanks, John, for that presentation. I'd like to acknowledge some of the people who have joined us. After that, then we will move on to Melissa. Mr. Ansalabi is joining us from Ghana. Okay, Mr. Ansalabi. Hi, hello, sir. We also have Hubert Berenga from France, Kendall Peter from St. Lucia, Jacqueline Atuhiewe from Entebbe, Uganda. We have Fred Gakuba from Rwanda, Mr. Kofi Koji from Ghana. Hello, sir. Yannick Zazia from Cameroon. We have Stephen Young and Viv Hoyle from Singapore. Juan Villa from the National Civil Aviation Authority in Venezuela. Lance Kane from the USA. Christian Ehon from the Cote d'Ivoire. And then John Koski from Kenya. Before Melissa comes on, we'll take a short commercial break from one of our partners while Melissa gets ready. All right, okay, so it appears Melissa is ready to go. So, hello, Melissa. Hello, Melissa. I can see your slides now. You started sharing the slides. You can please go ahead with your presentation.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. You have unmuted it. That's great. Thanks. Okay. Please go ahead.
Thanks.
Hello, Melissa. Hello, Melissa. Can you read me? It appears you have muted your mic. Please unmute it, and then you can go ahead with the presentation.
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Strength 5. Please go ahead.
Sorry, it looks like every time I share my screen, it mutes automatically.
All right, we will see what we can do about that from here. Yeah, but can you take it off from full screen?
You want me to remove my video?
No, the PowerPoint presentation from a full screen mode,
Ah, okay.
and then you can share it. Yes. We've sent you a request. Accept the request to unmute.
The moment I share my screen, it just. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Start with the presentation, and then we'll work on that as we go on. Hi, Melissa.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead with the presentation without the slides for now, and then we can share it with our attendees later on, if that will be fine with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Okay, so thank you again for inviting me for the conversation today about the integration of US into the airspace, and I'm here to basically discuss about how Zipline has been able to integrate not only in one country but multiple countries at the national scale, especially on the African continent. So I wanted to first talk about Zipline and give more aspect to what we do and our impact before discussing about how we went about integrating ourselves into the different airspace that we fly into. So Zipline, as you all know, is a logistic company. We do what we believe is transforming health system in the countries that we work in. So we do deliver medical products mostly, and we mostly likely to doing it the most efficient way and effective way. How we go about it is by using drone technologies, our unmanned aircrafts in this situation, and we always make sure that we deliver our product where it's needed in the most efficient way, as we talked about it and saw in the video earlier. So as we all know, our story started in Rwanda back in 2016, where we first did our first delivery in October 2016. And since then, we've been able to also integrate ourselves in Ghana and also expanding in multiple countries in this coming year. So just to give you an idea, in each country that we operate in, one of the most impactful things that we have done also was making sure that our operations are run by local talents. So from one distribution center, we as a company have built more than 1.5 million infrastructure investment, which supports mostly rural areas and the delivery of those products in very remote and very inaccessible regions. So we right now have more than 400 employees across Africa that are working every day in serving our health facilities and also patients across the continent. And we also make sure that we have a regional place where we train the talents. As you know, so far, like we do mostly the training in Rwanda and Ghana, and all the people that are joining Zipline from all over the world are usually coming either in Ghana and Rwanda to get the knowledge about our technology. So we have specialized skilled workers in both the pharmacy that are working in our warehouse, who are in charge of all the inventory and anything related to the warehouse. And we also have on the other side our engineers that are usually working on our drone technologies on a day-to-day basis. By day-to-day basis, I mean really running operations, doing the maintenance of our drones, and also making sure that everything is run smoothly in the background. So one of the key things and impacts that we have done since 2016, and also as we all know, with everything that happened when it comes to the pandemic, we have done a lot of work in both Rwanda and Ghana. The first one I would say is in the situation of Rwanda, we're now in charge of distributing more than 75% of the blood stocks in the whole country. So what we have been able to achieve in Rwanda since 2016 is making sure that one, the blood products are not wasted because of by centralizing them in one place and being able to deliver them in where they're needed the most, and at precisely when they're needed the most in different health centers across the country. So by doing so and having centralized all the blood products in our warehouse, we have also been able to allow different regional centers that used to have the stock of those bloods and allowing them to focus on other more important work, and making sure that we as a company are reliable when it comes to the distribution of critical products like those. So in Ghana, since we started in Ghana, we have now increased the number of distribution centers up to 6 are running right now in Ghana. So since the beginning of our operation, as you all know, we have also distributed, on top of giving more access to and coverage to these different health facilities across the country in Ghana, we have also been able to support the vision of the country in the distribution of the vaccine, of the COVID vaccine, where we distributed more than 6.3 million doses. So our work, and I think, has really making sure that people have access to critical medical products has been really impacted mostly because of COVID recently. And we have seen how much it is really important to find ways, very innovative ways of making sure that everyone on Earth has the best medical care and has also access to the best medical products no matter where they live. Which is why we believe that in the future, it will be really important to make sure that we deliver medical products as close as possible to patients. So this is what we believe is important in the health sector. And this is why we believe that drones are really the future in how to improve the logistics of medical products, just to make sure that the well-being and the health system care is well in the different countries that we operate in. In order to do so, of course, as you understand, we support all the health system in the countries, but of course we have to also use the airspace in order to do our job. So as I mentioned earlier, we started in Rwanda with 2 distribution centers. We came and grew really fast in Ghana with 8 distribution centers. And very soon we'll be starting our operation in different other African countries. Being in Nigeria, where we have already started with Kaduna State in the northern part of Nigeria, but we have already signed a couple of other contract with different states in Nigeria that will be coming up very soon, such as like Cross River and other states. We're also planning to start in Kenya very soon, and also Ivory Coast. So from the perspective, what we have seen across the different years, the demand of our technology has increased. The demand of flights has also increased with the demand that we have across different countries. In 2019, we were doing approximately 10,000. We had done 10,000 flights by the end of 2019, but as we speak right now, in July 2022, we have done a total number of 345,000 flights just between Rwanda and Ghana. So we definitely believe that this number of flights will increase as we grow throughout the continent, and with with how much we're seeing the need of delivering critical medical product across the continent is increasing, we also expect that the number of flights will also increase in the near future, even before the end of this year. So ideally, with what we believe, it's too bad that there's no presentation, but I wanted to share a graph where we basically see the number.
Hello, Melissa.
Sorry. Yes.
Okay, I think we've got your slides with us here now. So you've got to that point where you really would have wanted to share your slide, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. So we are trying to load that up. Can you see it?
Okay. Yeah, I see it. Can you can we just go back to the airspace like at the beginning, please?
Okay. Yeah, coming up.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's the first. That's the. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Yeah. So please go
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So this graph
Just prompt
shows,
us when you want us to move to the next slide.
I'll just say next when I'm done.
Fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So this graph basically shows our rapid growth since our integration in Rwanda and our national scale integration in Rwanda and Ghana. As you have seen, like across the different years, like the flight volume are really increasing. So 2019 was really when we started like increasing the volume, because that's when we were really established in Rwanda, and that's when also we already had 2 distribution centers in Ghana. And as you can see with COVID and our response to COVID, the flight volume has also increased a lot. And right now, but as we speak, by July 2022, we have done a total number of 345,000 flights across the continents. But really, it's really between Ghana and Rwanda. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, so this is the slide to show. Keep going. Yeah, that's, sorry, the previous one. Okay, can you go back? Can you go to the next slide? Perfect. The one with the maps of countries. Yes, that one. Yeah, so these are the countries that will be, as I mentioned earlier, these are the countries that will be expanding to. We have already started in Kaduna. Cross River is coming next, and we have also signed with the Bayelsa states so far. We're hoping to start in Kenya before the end of August, and also Cote d'Ivoire in the same time frame. Next slide, please. Next one. Yes, that's the one. So this graph shows one distribution center and the number of flights that we do during a day. So what you see here is in blue is what the number of zips that are in the airspace in different time frame. So as you can see here, sometimes according to the time and the demand, we can get up to 22 drones in the airspace to deliver different type of products. And the yellow line shows what, as a company, we hope to achieve very soon. So as you can see, we are hoping with the number of flight volume, the number of demand that is coming across the continent, we are hoping to get to a point where across the any day we'll have more than 22 drones in airspace. So this is what operation looks like. We usually have 21 drones in one distribution center, which are able to serve all the facilities that we have. But very soon, we hope that this will be increasing. In order to increase and get to that demand and look and where the number of drones seeing the way we're seeing on the yellow line, for that to happen, we see that we will need to increase the number of drones in one distribution center. We also need to increase the so by doing all that, we believe that we'll be achieving more than 500 flights in a day, while we're currently doing 250 flights and flying up to 7 p.m. So as you can see from the graph, the demand is really increasing, and we really think that the number of flights per day from one distribution center will definitely increase, or it will even double. Our customers being different healthcare sector and also governments. Next slide, please. So yes, so of course we talked about the impact that zipline has. We've talked of flights are going to be increasing, but I also wanted to talk about how we were able to national scale in both Rwanda and Ghana, and what we're hoping to achieve in a few other countries. So in the previous conversation, I liked how we talked about some of the challenges that air traffic controllers have in making sure that all the airspace, all the aircraft are well, all the airspace users are use the same airspace, and also how to make sure that they are integrated the airspace and still being safe as we all share the airspace. We have done our integration by increasing our safety measures and also de-risking our operations, and we have done it in different ways. The first one is, of course, how we design our aircrafts. As you all, I think we have all seen how our aircraft look like, but one of the key things that we believe has supported our integration is, of course, our parachute landing, where at any point we can parachute land if there is any issue. We have talked about also DAA, which should potentially be something that we add to our aircraft, just of course, again, to de-risk to de-risk our operations, basically. So DAA is definitely one of the things that, as an operator, we believe is also going to be important to reduce the coalition of any other aircraft in the airspace as we continue increase the number of flights that we do. We also work and take seriously the geofencing by creating routes in the airspace that we always use. Our aircraft will always fly pre-programmed routes where we believe that we have identified all the routes all the places and zones that we're not supposed to be flying, and also making sure that we also fly under the 400 feet which is what all the drones are required to do. And of course, one of the key things that we also believe is important is also the coordination with ATC. And we have always made sure that this is something that is smooth and also supporting the air traffic controllers to do their job as we increase our flight volume across the different countries. Next slide. Yes, so this is basically, I wanted to have show here what we call routes at Zipline, and to give you an idea of how our routes are created and how we go about it with the map that you see on the sides. So when we're creating our routes, we make sure that we avoid what we call sensitive areas, such as national parks, schools, places around airports, unless we have a special authorization to do so, particularly for the COVID response. We also try to avoid places where we know have a lot of military exercises, to kind of avoid where helicopters fly the most. And of course, we also work with other stakeholders, including the Ministry of Defense, to also identify really sensitive areas as well. From what you're seeing on the map, there's a lot of circles where our routes are not passing through, and those are what we call internally keep out zones, where we have identified closely with our stakeholders, the civil aviation authorities and other stakeholders, where we should not be flying into. And this is really part of our safety mitigation that have supported our integration into different airspaces on the continent. Next slide, please. So I talked about the coordination with ATC, which has been very important in every country that we operate in. And I think this has also played a big part in the success of Zipline in both Rwanda and Ghana, and very soon in other countries. So we have different ways of communicating with ATCs. And we have come up with what we call Birdwatch, which is basically our internal surveillance system that has been given to ATCs to kind of communicate with Zipline directly. So what Birdwatch does at this point is creating visibility of all the drones in the airspace to ATC to support in how they manage the airspace, basically. Through Birdwatch, an ATC is able to request Zipline to put one of our drones on hold, to return to our distribution center, or to even terminate the flights. So far, our coordination has been really great, that we have never got to a situation where any ATC has requested Zipline to terminate a flight. And of course, what the most important part as well here is also ATC is also able to provide flight restrictions, what we call TFR, which is really monitored on our sides by a controller at Zipline 24 hours. And of course, as a backup, in case there's any issue, we also have a hotline, a direct line between Zipline and any other tower, air traffic tower, as a backup in case there's any issue. Next slide, please. Next slide. Perfect. So just to give you an idea for the people who have never used Birdwatch, because I see we have a lot of representation across the continent and beyond the continent, this is how Birdwatch looks like, and this is how the different tabs that air traffic controllers have access to, and this is also the same tab that our controllers at Zipline have access to and are able to communicate with air traffic controllers. So you have the map, of course, which is really important. This is how the map to see different routes. The second thing is the summary of all the flights that are happening in real time. Yeah, so the summary of all the flights that are happening in real time. You can also have access to all the restrictions on both sides. So the ATC, the air traffic controller will be able to put restrictions, and those restrictions will be seen on both sides from the air traffic controllers, and also at the zipline side as well. And by the way, in order to integrate ourselves and support other airspace users, we have also accommodated this this platform to specific airspace users. Next slide, please. So since 2016, of course, we have listened to some of the feedback that air traffic controllers have given us, and we have tried to support in helping them doing their job without interrupting or disturbing manned aircrafts on a day-to-day basis. So we have changed what, as you can see, the map, how air traffic controllers see the map. This is also has been helping them in knowing exactly in which city or district or province, depending on where we're operating in, but giving them more visibility in terms of like where exactly are we flying into. This is the map of Rwanda. So as you can see, it has changed from the previous one because of some of the feedback we have received from air traffic controllers. Next slide, please. So Ghana, as I told you, we have more distribution centers, and this is how it would look like when you zoom out and try to see what is happening at every single distribution center. And as you can see from here, this is one of our distribution center located in Omenako, and you can see the number of drones that are flying. You see from each distribution center, and you can also have a way of zooming in from one distribution center to have more visibility and support the air traffic controllers. If you can go to the next slides, please. Yeah, so this is what air traffic controllers can see, which is basically by zooming in one distribution center, you can see all the traffic that is happening around around that specific distribution center that we have. So of course we understand that there's a lot of work to do when it comes to do in order to get to what a UTM should look like. But this is one of the key surveillance platform that we have provided to ATC to kind of like not only support our integration in the airspace and help us serve the health centers and patients on the ground, but also not disturbing the air traffic controllers. So this tool has been helping air traffic controllers so far. And as you can see here on the right side, sorry, this is where the air traffic controllers would put all the information to give us the flight restrictions. The moment the flight restriction is put in place, all our flights in the specific region will stop automatically. Next slide, please. Perfect, thank you. So Birdwatch was there to support our integration, as I mentioned so far, because we believe it was a better way to integrate the airspace, and it was a better way of providing real-time visibility for air traffic controllers rather than radio broadcasting that is done with other type of operations. We knew how much our operations were complex. We knew that in order to integrate the airspace, we had to make sure that we're safe. So Birdwatch was basically to support ATC in providing them awareness of where our operations are being, where our drones are in the airspace. It was there to make sure that we communicate the best way with our air traffic controllers. It was there to also make sure that we integrate as safely as possible. So with the demand and where we think we are getting at, we saw from the previous presentation, there's different there's different drones that are coming in. And we believe that, of course, a UTM is definitely where the future holds. So in order to do that, we believe that birdwatch needs to be improved, because it's a lot of things are needed in order to keep integrating ourselves and stay safe. So as a company, we're now working on a new platform, and we believe that this will also enhance the work that the air traffic controllers have at this point. So Tower should be replacing Birdwatch before the end of the year. And we hope that Tower will be the next version of Birdwatch in terms of being user-friendly for air traffic controllers. And also, to some extent, integrating other airspace users, which is also a big challenge with how different companies and operations are. So what we believe is user-friendly for ATC is by supporting a better and easier way of providing TFR, which is one of the key challenges that ATC have been given us as a feedback. So we're really, as a company, we're really trying to make sure that the TFR will be as easy as possible in the future with the next generation of our UTM. The second thing, of course, would be removing the IP address, which has also been something that has been a very big challenge in terms of security. And so we're planning to remove that requirement with the next generation. And of course, a better management of the users. This is also another feedback that we have received from different ATCs, both in Rwanda and Ghana. And of course, we believe that the support will be easier on our side in case there is any issue, and we'll be able to personalize the UTM as much as possible, depending on how the ATC believe would be best to support their work. And of course, the bigger challenge is integrating other airspace users in the same platform. I think that's where the future UTM looks like. And as a company, we're really working hard to make sure that this is something that we are able to achieve with Tower. So we will be coming. I'm really glad that we have air traffic controllers here. And I just wanted to make sure that you know that your work and feedback has helped us in improving our technology. And we will be definitely coming to you to get your feedback on what you believe Tower should look like before we integrate it to different countries, and especially Rwanda and Ghana, and also across the continents. So thank you very much for having me. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties with this presentation, but I hope I answered all the questions. And I'll be sharing my contact information if there's anyone who has any questions or would like to have this presentation sent to. I would definitely like to share the information with the people here. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Melissa. And I think that was a very, very exhaustive presentation from Zipline. And please stay on with that whilst we wait for the questions, because I can see a lot of questions coming in. So just stay on with that. We will quickly take an advert from one of our partners, and then we will move on to our third panelist for today. We'll be right back.
Introducing the new Passion Air mobile app. You can now search and book your flight and make payment via mobile money. You can view your booking, check in online, and generate your boarding pass to beat the queues at the airport. Using the mobile app, you can check on flight schedules in real time. Download the Passion Air app and make your next trip a lot more convenient. Passion Air, Aquaba. Introducing the new Passion Air mobile app. You can now search and book your flight and make payment via mobile money. You can view your booking, check in online, and generate your boarding pass to beat the queues at the airport. Using the mobile app, you can check on flight schedules in real time. Download the Passion Air app and make your next trip a lot more convenient. Passion Air, Aquaba.
What you can see here is vaccines that we have here as bulk storage that we are keeping here on behalf of some health facilities that are in very difficult to reach locations.
Many products might have gone bad somewhere due to expiration or storage condition. We are saving those products from going bad by centralizing some of these critical products.
So welcome to the flight operations area. This is where all that is done with the drones. The package gets into the drones, and then the drones are launched to the health facility. This centralization allows us to be able to serve patients on demand because of the speed that we carry with aerial logistics.
There are so many health facilities that actually depend on our service on a day-by-day basis. And so what we are doing in Zipline is to ensure that the supply chain is revolutionized into a system that is very responsive to what is actually happening on the field.
It takes not more than 40 minutes for whatever items you request for Zipline to be able to supply it to the facility. When I'm going to do a surgery, if I don't have the blood that is required, I've called Zipline. I can have the confidence to start, because in the middle of the surgery, I'm sure I will get it.
So being able to ensure even distribution of some of these critical commodities is very impactful, because the health professionals know that they can focus on serving the patients without worrying about the inventory of storing some of these complex products.
It has changed the system for us for the better. We are 100% sure of product availability, even when there is shortage.
Being able to make the supply chain so responsive that people can receive that same quality of care wherever they are, it's very impactful to see.
Plans are in place to cover the whole country so that every single facility, every hospital, every health center in the country will have access to these products.
What really sets Zipline apart is our appreciation for all of the complexity that's actually required to build an autonomous logistics service that can operate at national scale and operate reliably enough that people can depend on it with their lives. It is possible for humanity to put every single person on the planet within a 15 to 25-minute delivery of any essential product.
Welcome back from the ad. If you just joined us, please introduce yourself on the chat tab, and I will do well to acknowledge you while the webinar is ongoing. In the meantime, a couple of people have again introduced themselves, so I'm just going to go through that. We have Mwakane from Johannesburg in South Africa, Desmond Labi from Ghana, I believe from Kumasi, Abasa Abbas, Drone Hub, Ghana, Chineme from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority in Nigeria. We also have Caleb Efante from Togo, Emmanuel Ohine from Zipline in Ghana. Hi, Ima. Hilda Ponsa from the ICAO headquarters in Montreal. Hello, ma'am. All right. So we are going to go on to our third and final panelist for today. Our third panelist for today is Mr. Reynolds Tenam Ataja. Reynolds Tenam Ataja is a Senior Aviation Safety Inspector with the Airworthiness Inspectorate Division of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. He is a qualified ICAO Government Safety Inspector Instructor for Airworthiness and Personnel Licensing. He is also the coordinator for the National Remotely Piloted Aircraft Systems, Implementation Committee in Ghana. Reynolds serves on the ICAO Rpas panel with Working Group 5. Ms. Ataja is also Ghana's representative on the Joint Authorities for Rulemaking on Unmanned Systems, JARUS. Reynolds has a Master of Science degree in Aerospace Engineering from the Samara State Aerospace University in Russia, and also an FAA airframe and plant license, which he obtained while studying at the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Daytona Beach in Florida, in the USA. He is currently enrolled with the Accra Institute of Technology, pursuing a Master of Science program in Occupational Safety and Risk Management. Senam, good afternoon and welcome. Please take it from here. Hello, Senam.
Hello, can you hear?
Yeah, I read you strength 5. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Kwame. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I see there are a lot of people all over the world on this presentation. It is my pleasure today to share with you. Let me just share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen, Kwame. If I'm okay.
Yes, I can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll be sharing with you the regulatory framework or GCA's perspective on drone implementation in Ghana. We will start. Okay. So how many of us think drones are a relatively new phenomenon in the world? I used to think that, but we'll look at the evolution of drones, because I think to understand the regulations and have a better appreciation of how regulations came into being, we need to understand and know how drones came to be in this world in the first place. So we'll talk about the evolution of drones, then we'll go on to the regulatory framework. And finally, on the example of Ghana, we'll tell you how drone regulations have been localized in a country. So when we look at the evolution of drones, how did we arrive at this point where drones are taking over almost all area survey works in the world? And at the same time, teenagers are asking for drones as birthday presents. It's amazing if you look at the history of drones, how we came about. So way back in the 18th century, we had the Montgolfier brothers. That was in 1782, who sent up an unmanned balloon into the atmosphere. They did that prior to their own first flight, which was in the 1783. The Montgolfier brothers were the first people to fly a manned balloon. And we can talk about the synergy of brothers, because we know the Wright brothers also flew the first manned aircraft. But as is always the case, we found good use of this technology in war. And this happened when we filled the balloons with bombs and dropped them on the enemies. This happened in Austria. Austria used it against Venice in 1848. Following that, we also used cameras on drones for surveillance, and it was widely used in the Spanish-American War for surveillance purposes. And then in 1903, we had our first manned aviation aircraft. In 1910 to the 1940s, we retrofitted bombers, manned bombers, to UAVs as UAVs, and remotely controlled them to deliver bombs to their destination. This happened especially during the Second World War. Unfortunately, two people died on the drone. Now, how is that possible? Drones were, or those retrofitted bombers, the technology was not that good. So they had to be flown by human pilots. And then they jumped out with parachute, and then the drone was controlled remotely to its destination. Now, one of those people who died in the first drone accident was the senior brother of John F. Kennedy, Joseph Kennedy. Then after all this period, drones were being used for military purposes. And somewhere in the late 1990s, 2000s, drone technology caught up to manned aviation in terms of reliability, performance, and standards. So in 2002, we had the first targeted killing using a drone in Afghanistan. But then something happened in the previous decade, where we saw a boom in commercial or civilian drones. Now, this explosive growth can be explained by the development of the microchip, the perfection of the microchip, and the reduced cost of technology. But this was not enough to explain the boom in consumer drones. And then if you add the need that companies like Zipline to deliver medicine to hard-to-reach areas, the need to cheaply survey an area, to have breathtaking shots, or to cheaply spray large plantations and monitor plant health, you see that all these three factors led to the explosive growth in drone technology. And this has led us to ask the same question that was asked in Chicago in 1944. Now, what was asked in Chicago in 1944? This is the start of the regulatory framework. In 1944, the inevitable demise of the Axis powers was given. Okay, we all knew the war was coming to an end. And we had a surplus of wartime technology and knowledge finding their way into civilian aviation. So 52 countries met in Chicago to decide how to ensure the safe growth and development of international civil aviation. And they came up with 96 articles or policies to guide this endeavor. The international body realized that for everything to grow properly, we need rules and regulations. If in nature, in all human endeavors, the proper growth can only happen when it grows within the confines of law. So the international body set up the International Civil Aviation Authority organization, International Civil Aviation Organization, known as ICAO, which is a specialized arm of the UN, United Nations, to oversee the growth and of civilian aviation in the world. It's therefore not surprising that they came up as one of the guidelines or policies in Article 8 of ICAO. It said that no aircraft capable of being flown without a pilot shall be flown without a pilot over the territory of a contracting state without special authorization by that state and in accordance with the terms of such authorization. So even all the way back in 1944, we knew about drone technology and we put that in the policies of the International Civil Aviation Authority. But that is where everything stopped. Since then till the previous decade, we have not had any procedure or process developed by ICAO because drone technology had been used mostly in military operations, and ICAO is to deal with only civilian operations. But that I said, all this changed late 2000, early 2010s. And the status quo changed, and we are asking ourselves again, how do we ensure the safe growth and development of our civil aviation, international civil aviation? So the international body says, hey, listen, we already have a framework that exists. We can use ICAO's International Civil Aviation Organization's framework to develop regulations to monitor or enhance the growth of drones. But we know that drones are predominantly within borders. Okay, the operations, as we have seen now, mostly happen within a country's borders, unlike manned aviation, which fly across international borders. So the ICAO regulations, which deal with only international operations, are not 100% suitable for drone operations. This gives rise to different entities that came up to try and meet or fill in the gap or supplement ICAO's rulemaking. The most prominent amongst these is the Joint Authorities for Rulemaking on Unmanned Systems. Why is JARUS the most prominent? Because it is international in nature, unlike some of the other bodies that are regional in nature. Moreover, JARUS also encompasses all areas of aviation. It takes care of air traffic controlling, it takes care of airworthiness, it takes care of operations, etc. So JARUS has risen up to become one of the prominent authorities in complementing ICAO's work. So ICAO in the last decade has promulgated or amended some of its annexes. The annexes are what we call minimum standards, okay, governing rules. They are minimum standards or governing rules that every country that is a signatory to the International Civil Aviation Organization is supposed to meet. Now, Ghana, and like most African countries, joined ICAO after independence, and we are obligated by international law to implement the regulations of ICAO. So if you look on the screen, you can see that ICAO has amended some of their regulations or annexes in the previous decade to take care of drone, to look after the drone operations. Okay, they've come up with drone provisions. And we have personnel licensing, rules of the air, aircraft nationality and registration marks, airworthiness, aeronautical telecommunications. You notice that most of these are applicable in November 2018, and some are yet to even be applicable in November 2026. Annex 10 has volume 5, and then volume 6, which was solely developed for Rpas operations. That is to deal with the command and control link. In the works, we have Annex 6, Part 4, which is international Rpas IFR operations, which is yet to be enacted, but that is in the works. So how does Ghana take all of these international operations and implement it at the local level? And this is an example that applies to almost all countries in the world. Ghana has put its regulations in the Ghana Civil Aviation Directives, Part 28. And our story in Ghana started from July 2014, when we had our first drone request. So that kickstarted the process of trying to come up with a legal backing for granting approvals or denying approvals for drone operations. The initial team that set up to work on these regulations were from the airworthiness, the flight operations, aerodromes, air traffic services, and personnel licensing of the regulatory aspect of the regulatory section, and then the legal section. And in 2016, we came up with our first regulation. And I can say that I was one of the first in the region, and even on the continent, one of the first to promulgate regulations on drones. In 2017, we had our first ROC, or remotely piloted operator, who was carrying out commercial operations. In 2017, we certified our first operator. And in 2018, we amended the regulations to reflect the condition that operators could certify their own observers instead of having the CAA do that. In August of 2020, Ghana started using the SORA. SORA was developed by JARUS, that is the entity that is supplementing or complementing the International Civil Aviation Organization. This tool is widely accepted worldwide, and it's a specific operations risk assessment. Ghana modified the SORA to suit its conditions in Ghana, and we retermed it as ARO. So ARO is for the same, it serves the same purpose as a risk assessment for Rpas operations. And then in November 2020, the Director General of Ghana Civil Aviation enlarged the scope of the Rpas team. And with this enlargement, we had AFSEC, Aviation Security, also joining us in the team. We also had national entities or state entities joining the team. So we had the Ghana Revenue Authority, we had the police, we had the Air Force, we had the National Security, Immigration, National Communications Authority, Ghana Airports Company Limited. We had the National Commission for Civic Education. We have the ministry responsible for aviation and the air traffic control services joining the team in 2020 to come up with, and we came up with a 3-year strategic plan in 2021. This 3-year strategic plan is to guide the development of drone operations in Ghana for the next 3 years. And we have 7 strategic objectives that this plan is supposed to cover. One of them, which we recently completed, was the development of an SMS, Safety Management System training for commercial Rpas operators in Ghana. So they were trained recently, and which means that they are now, they now can meet international standards of safety. So if you employ the services of a commercial Rpas operator and they are not certified by the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, you are endangering your own project as well as putting lives at risk, not to mention you are going against the rules of state. So the regulations of Ghana can be found on the GCA website at the link you can see on your screen. Over there as well, you can see some resources over that the first speaker spoke to you about. You'll find some of the resources on that website as well. So what are some of the highlights of the Ghana Civil Aviation Directives or Regulations? Now we call it in part 28. We have one that says that all Rpas shall be registered. So no matter the kind of drone you're bringing into the country, you need to register it with the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. If you fly your drone and it's not registered and something happens, the authority may not be able to provide backup to you. Rpas commercial operators shall be certified. So all our commercial Rpas operators are taken through a 5-phase certification process to ensure that they meet the minimum safety standards that are required by Ghana and the international community. And as my colleague earlier told you, we have about 6 entities that are certified to conduct commercial operations in the country. We also require that all Rpas pilot license holders shall have a Class 3 medical certificate as a minimum. All commercial operators shall also implement SMS, that is Safety Management System. And we also require that no flights go beyond 400 feet above ground level without prior approval. And I agree with my colleague who says that the 400 feet does not ensure 100% safety, because flights, manned aviation do come into the 400 feet envelope. But we can reduce risk to as low as possible, although we may not get zero risk. So this is a measure that we've put in place to minimize the risk. In addition to this, we also have that you cannot fly within a 10-kilometer radius of airports without prior approval. So this takes you away from the airport where flights are normally at very low levels. We also require that no flights go beyond visual line of sight without prior approval. So this is also part of our regulations. And then an Rpas shall not be imported without prior approval into the country. So whenever you are importing a drone into the country, you have to declare your drone at the customs, and you have to show the permission from civil aviation that you are authorized to bring the drone into the country. So this is basically a few details on the regulatory aspect of drone operations in Ghana. Hope I've been able to give you a deeper understanding of how drones evolve and how the regulations have come into being. Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot. I think it covered largely everything that we need to know. And I'm sure some of the questions will be coming your way. So you stay with us, and then we'll quickly roll over to the Q&A session. And I hope Melissa and John are also online with us. Hello, John and Melissa.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, great. Whilst we wait for John also to join, please, John has joined us, yes, but a quick reminder, after the webinar, please spend a few minutes to fill the post-webinar survey, which will pop up after you log out of the Zoom app. All right. So the first question goes to Melissa. And one villa from Venezuela wants to know if is it possible that the zipline health delivery system can operate in Venezuela?
Thank you for the question. There's always room for conversation, for sure. We really want to expand to as many countries as possible. I have put my email on the chat conversation. If you would like, please, I would love to reach out to you and talk to you and discuss about how we can integrate into Venezuela as well.
All right. I don't know which one of you will take this, but how can we prevent drones from getting into the hands of unqualified handlers or pilots? I think Senam will take this one. Hello, Senam.
Yes.
So the question is, how do we prevent drones from getting into the hands of unqualified handlers or pilots?
That is a very interesting question. And we cannot 100% prevent people, criminals or people who are not qualified from getting their hands on drones. When we take the latter aspect, the people who are not qualified, that is why we have the regulations in place to try to take you away from critical areas. So from the airport, away from people. You're not supposed to fly 30 meters close to people, etc. So those regulations are in place to help minimize the effect of someone who doesn't know how to operate the drone properly or qualified and can cause harm. The other aspect is the criminal element, where the person knows the regulations, knows what needs to be done, but then still goes ahead to do the wrong thing. In that case, that is why we've now included the state agencies in our oversight and surveillance activities. So we are currently in the process of writing MOUs, especially with the police, the national security, so that they can help us enforce the laws. So that is what I can say to this.
I think that is the way to go, because earlier this week there was a news item that in South Africa the CAA has collaborated with the police to codify offenses relating to drones. So I think that's the way to go. Well, the next question is, do we run the risk of weaponizing drones in Africa, and how can it be mitigated? I don't know which one of you would want to take this, but do we run the risk of weaponizing drones in Africa?
Okay, so let me take this.
Yeah.
Yes, that risk is there. We've seen it happen in other places or other parts of the world. Recently not recently, but in Venezuela, an assassination attempt was happened on the president's life when he was in a parade or something like that, using a drone, a handheld, normal consumer drone with a grenade on it. So yes, those those are possibilities that may happen. That is why we need all drones to be registered in Ghana. And hopefully, when the arrangements are done with the state entities, we can enforce some of these regulations and clamp down on unregistered drones. So in that vein as well, even if you want to sell a drone, you need to have permission from the Civil Aviation Authority to sell drones so that we know how many drones are in the system and who they belong to. Yeah.
All right, okay. So a follow-up to that, we have one of our attendees who works for Toolbox Enterprise, for instance. They are involved in the assembly, use, and training regarding drones. Are we doing anything regarding those who are doing local assembly of drones in that regard? Because then, if they are doing local assembly, they can easily weaponize them if they want to, or apply it for other purposes. Are we in touch with groups like that, or companies like that?
The regulations luckily has provisions for those as well. All those who are manufacturing as well are supposed to be registered or certified by the Civil Aviation Authority. Because what we need is to know as much information as much as possible to know who is using drones, who is manufacturing, who is selling, etc. So yes, we have some organizations that have approached us that they want to manufacture drones, both national and international. So your colleague or your friend should do well to come to the Civil Aviation Authority, and then we'll guide him through the process.
Somebody asked what the difference was between drones and remotely piloted aircraft systems. So any of you can take that, and then we can move on to the next question. John, Melissa, Senam, any of you?
Okay. When we say drones, unmanned aircraft systems, remotely piloted aircraft systems, we are talking about one and the same thing.
Okay.
Where we are saying that the pilot is not on board the aircraft. The pilot is on a remote location and the drone is flying without the person controlling the drone on board the aircraft. So that is what we mean. They are all the same, basically.
Fly to remote areas without air traffic control service. How does the air traffic control and zipline ensure potential conflict with these aircraft is avoided? So Melissa and John can both have a bite at this question, I believe.
Okay, I'll let John start.
All right. John, this time round is gentleman first.
Okay, so the question is, how do we avoid conflicts between aircraft and Rpas or drones where there is lack of ATC? We have a coordination arrangement with Rpas. So we have a coordination arrangement with Zipline. So anytime we have manned aircraft proceeding to areas of operations where we know Zipline drones are, we call the Zipline Operations Center and give them traffic information about the manned aircraft. Zipline also, I know Zipline also has procedures to mitigate conflict using several strategies such as holding aircraft and also delaying departures until they know the areas are clear of conflict. Thank you.
Melissa, will you want to add on to that?
Yeah, for sure. As I mentioned during the presentation, ATC coordination has been one of the key aspects to why we have never had any coalition with any other aircrafts, as John mentioned. The communication is done through birdwatch, as I mentioned, or also by phone call as well. Just as he just said. But if I have to take it back a little bit, beyond the just coordination, we also talked about like the fact that we work really hard in the geofencing and creating routes that we always fly into. So we create, our drones are always flying a pre-programmed routes. So it starts from there as well. So by knowing where we'll be flying into, this also helps in the supports with the coordination with ATC. And of course, in the future, this is going to be changing. We're planning to change our technology in order to increase our safety. But there's definitely more to come for us to support the ATC work and also automated avoidance as well.
The next question is, stay on with us, Melissa. I think the next question is for you. Have you ever lost contact, visual or otherwise, with any of your flights? And what are the recovery mechanisms and that you employ?
So our drones are automated, first of all. So in a case of an extreme situation like what you just described, we have what we call our emergency parachute landing. In this situation, specific situation, what would happen? The drone would automatically open its parachute and then would land softly on the ground. We have GPSs. We're able to always locate our drones. I would say like the ultimate issue, what would happen would be the emergency parachutes opening up. That's in really the extreme way.
Oh, okay, all right, great. I think there are a lot of questions coming for you, Melissa. Is Zipline looking to integrate into the AFTN network? AFTN is the Aeronautical Fixed Telecommunication Network. In the longer term, to have a more commercial flight aviation or aviation flight planning filing for longer duration trips? I think this is from Stephen Young.
Yeah, good question. And I think every year things are changing in the drone industry. Right now, of course, there's no requirements for Zipline to do so. And Zipline is actually not the only one. I think it's across the different drone companies. I believe right now the conversation is ongoing, but what I would say is we will always go for what we believe is the best alternative for not only Zipline, but across different drone companies, and also the best solution that would not saturate because of the number of drone operation and flights that would happen in the future. I hope I answered the question.
Yes. Are the drones equipped with the ADS-B transponders receivers for better surveillance visibility at lower level? I think this is also from Stephen Young. And again, it goes to Melissa.
Yeah.
I don't know if you...
Yeah, I can answer that. So we actually have ADS-B technology, but we have ADS-B in. The reason why we only, which means that we can only receive but not broadcast. Again, the reasoning behind it is about not saturating the manned aircraft in general. So it goes back to the same kind of challenge that we have. We believe that by transmitting and all broadcasting, it could be easily saturated with the number of flights that we have per day or the number of drones that we can have in the airspace at the same time. But I would definitely say if an helicopter has ADS-B out and is broadcasting, we can definitely detect that specific aircraft. You're muted.
What's the capacity for an airspace like Ghana? How many at a time can we take? And what happens when we are exceeding capacity? I don't know if you can give me a concise answer or a precise number.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. And just to add a little to what Melissa just said, I'm happy to hear that they have at least the ADSB in, because that means that will increase their situation awareness. Because, I made mention of the fact that manned aircraft can veer into low-level airspace due to several reasons, such as emergency, and then the need to land due to weather. The fact that they have ADSB in means that they will see all aircrafts that are at least 50 miles, within a 50 miles radius. And if they realize a manned aircraft is penetrating their airspace, they can take the necessary avoiding action. Now, coming back to your question has to do with the capacity in our airspace. Well, we have different classes of airspace, being the CTRs, the TMS, and then the entire Accra FIR. So, and it differs with these classes of airspaces. So within Accra FIR, I would say we have about over 30 flights in an hour. I don't know if that answer is okay with you.
I didn't catch that, the last part.
We have about over 30 flights in an hour within the FIR.
All right. Okay. That's great. An attendee has requested Melissa's contact and the contact of the other panelists. We will make that available after consultation. However, we are having a lot of questions coming in, but due to time, we would want to end it here. Note that the recording will be made available on the Ghatca website and also on our YouTube channel. We will also compile the questions, the ones that have been answered and even the ones that were not answered. We'll email it to our panelists, they answer them, and then we will distribute, in addition to their presentation. Before we go, once again, I'd like to remind you to take a few minutes to fill our post-webinar survey. That will pop up immediately you log out of the Zoom app. Now, on behalf of the Ghana Air Traffic Controllers Association, I would like to thank our panelists for today, Melissa, John, and Senam, for making time to join us and also to share insights on the topic. I want to thank every attendee who made time to join us as well. Keep joining subsequent webinars as we share industry insights. I would also like to thank ATC management and the IT section of the GCA for their continued support. Again, we'd like to thank Passion Air for their support for today's webinar. Finally, I'd like to thank all members of Ghatca and all air traffic controllers in Ghana, especially the members of the technical team, Ben, Aliza, Samani, Zelabi, Alaska, Jonah, Oko, Bash, and Zaid. Right, I'll end today's webinar with a closing prayer. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you for a successful webinar. Continue to bless our panelists and attendees. Bless the work of our hands as we continue to work in our various fields. Amen. Thanks once again, and then see you in October for the next webinar. God bless you all.
Welcome to the center of rich cultural experiences and a hotbed of heritage. Welcome to the center of the world, where you immerse yourself in great fun, entertainment, and leisure. Welcome to the heart of sustainable ecotourism, where nature is still pure. Rediscover yourself with breathtaking nature trips through our mountains, valleys, and lakes. Akwaaba, to the center of adventure. Endless thrilling and breathtaking adventure awaits you. Welcome to the center of history and heritage. It is time to relive your heritage through our history. So come and experience the culture, the warmth, and the rhythm at the center of the world. Ghana. Destination Ghana is open and ready to help you discover yourself. Visit Ghana now.
Introducing the new Passion Air mobile app. You can now search and book your flight and make payment via mobile money. You can view your booking, check in online, and generate your boarding pass to beat